Let's talk about the fundamentals of a golf swing. So the fundamentals are the key pieces that all the best golfers demonstrate in a uniform way. So they are doing roughly the same things. Now, commonly when you ask people, they talk about the fundamentals as being the aim, the grip, the stance, the alignment, the ball position. I strongly believe these all ought to be labelled as variables. Now, the reason for that is that there is no common standard for each of these elements among the world's best players. So if you take the grip, for example, you could have Zach Johnson on the range and his lead hand is turned 90 degrees clockwise. Next to him, you'd have Olafable, his lead hand turned 5 degrees counterclockwise. So just in the position of the lead hand, there's almost 100-degree difference. If we think alignment, you could have Jack Nicklaus, who aims his body off to the left of his intended target. Sam Snead aims his body off to the right of his intended target. Ryan Moore sets up with lots of flex in his knees. Fred Couples with virtually no flex in his knees. Jim Furyk stands very close to the ball. Mo Norman stands much further away from the ball. They are all doing these things in a different manner and hence are variables. So this begs the question, what are the fundamental pieces of the golf swing? So first and foremost is the best players all have a weight shift. So by the time they strike the ball, they all have their weight forwards via a sliding, a linear lateral motion of the hips towards the target. Then in their backswing, they all make a move such that the lead shoulder moves downwards. So at the top of the swing, the lead shoulder is lower than the trail shoulder, which has enabled them to keep their inclination to the ground. During the backswing, the best players flex the lead knee somewhat and straighten the trail knee somewhat. Again, common moves demonstrated by all. Then, because the club is built on a tilted angle, so I make the analogy of a rooftop, this means that the club head throughout the backswing goes backwards, upwards, inwards, then down, out and forwards, and upwards, inwards again after the ball. So they are swinging on a tilted plane. Very important. The best players all have their arms relatively straight. They don't have any excessive flexion in the elbows as they strike the ball. The best players finish with their belt buckle forward and upwards and their chest pointing to the sky. They're extended. These are all key moves, common moves, shared uniformly by the world's best players. And of course there are always exceptions, there are always outliers, but as a whole, these basic patterns are there for anyone with an educated eye to see quite clearly. So what's important for you as a golfer is that when you're learning the game, when you're trying to progress, you really need to concentrate on the fundamentals rather than variables. So if you imagine you're building a house, having solid foundations in place is very, very important before you start building upwards. You have to have those core skills in place before you go any further. Now, that's not to say that the traditional fundamentals I've just mentioned, aim, grip, stance, alignment, ball position, aren't important. They are, and there's not a lesson that's going to go by when I'm not going to mention at least one of those elements. But they are going to evolve over time. And the better you are, the more they will come into play. But at the beginning, it's really those core skills that make the most difference to your ability to play good golf. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. Thanks.